What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by and say hello. All right, let's go ahead and chat about what some of the major upcoming catalysts for Splinterlands the game can be. Now, we don't necessarily have solid time frames on these, but I'm hoping that we will see them within the next month to 2 months, which in crypto time can be a very, very long time. So the first is modern and wild format, and this is the one that we do have a rough timeline for. We were told by Cryptomancer that in one of the previous town halls that this would be out by the end of April, and that was a conservative estimate. So about 6 weeks or so from today, we're recording this just past mid-March or so. And so that to me is going to be a huge catalyst. Now, here's the thing. I'm not, and I want to be very clear here. I'm not bullish on modern format. I'm not bullish on modern format raising the prices of anything. I don't think it's gonna save the game in any way in terms of like bringing in new players essentially, or raising the prices of assets. I think the prices of assets will continue to fall as the market continues to fall. But what it will do is bring a renewed sense of strategy and interest, and potentially, I said not new players, but new players will feel a little bit more competitive, or give themselves or have a better opportunity to play at higher and more competitive levels. Now, for myself, for example, I'm not, just to be honest with you guys, I'm not even playing anymore. I rent my cards out every day. I miss playing, but at this point in time, it's more profitable for me to rent out my cards and just take that and then reinvest it back into the game. Now, that's not what everybody's doing, and I'm not saying that that is what you should do, because I'm missing out on tournaments, I'm missing out on my daily quests, and I'm not enjoying the game in the way that I'm able to play it. So, in that sense, I haven't, I'm not getting everything out of it the way that I'd like to, but at the same time, it's just more cost effective for me to rent out my entire deck and reinvest those back into the game, whether that's buying SPS or whether that is buying, some of the other cards. So the other part of this is the rewards economy. Rewards economy update. Now, we don't have any timeline for this, but like I was saying, for a player like myself, there is just little incentive, because for me to go through and play and do my daily quest, for example, and then end up with a bunch of level or common cards, I can buy a bunch of common cards if I just rent on my deck, which is kind of what I've been doing. I've been putting most of it into SPS, but here and there, some of the common cards, which are going for ridiculously cheap right now. These are all like less than 3 cents, 0.025, right? So to me, that's where my head is at. Now, I look at these modern and wild format and the upcoming rewards economy as major catalysts that can reignite some interest within the existing player base, right? Because we already know what this game is about. We already understand, the basics of it. Modern and wild format will change the game meta, maybe not as much as people think, but enough to the point where I don't like going up against the older cards. The higher in leagues that I get, for example, in like beta, or sorry, not beta, but in gold and diamond, I'm going up against cards that are in alpha, beta, and even untamed, of which I don't have very many cards, right? I'm really trying to max out my Chaos Legion deck before I start investing in any other card sets. And that's my personal preference. But what ends up happening is that I fight against these cards that just have crazy multiple abilities at the higher levels. And for me, it's not worth my time. And so that's where I've been in terms of just renting out my cards and then reinvesting back into the game. I want to clarify and say that I'm still very bullish on the game long term, but I'm very bearish on all the assets in the short term, and we've talked about that. So what I'm really talking about in this video is why Wild and Modern, I think, could bring a renewed interest, and I'm hoping that it will, because once we get Wild and Modern, I will expect myself, and I'm excited to start playing the game again in terms of just enjoying it for the lower level of competition, with a lot of the alpha and beta cards removed. Now it'll be a little bit more of an even playing field, but I'll still admit that a lot of the untamed cards can be very, very dominant. So just looking at your your untamed summoners here. But at that point, for me, it may be worth investing in these cards, not necessarily from a buying standpoint, but in terms of renting, right? Because then I'm able to rent the cards, I'm able to play at the higher levels, and I don't need to go against like Valnamor and Cryptmancer and all these other older cards. Like I can go through and rent, maybe 2 to 3 of the legendary summoners here and feel like I can be competitive, right? I can stay competitive with the rest of the league and maybe not be at the top of leaderboards, but at least it's something that I'm looking forward to trying. It's just at this point, there's just no incentive for me. And thankfully, I've been able to build up a sizable collection of cards that are earning a good amount. So that combined with, and I'm hoping that we get this somewhat in conjunction with Modern and Wild format, will be the rewards economy. Right now, yes, the only incentive is not to play. It's almost a disincentive to play in bronze. But you kind of get the same rewards outside of packs in every other league. So for me, and what I'm hoping that they'll do is obviously that the goal is to funnel this up so that the best rewards are going to be at the highest leagues. My hope is that this will come out in conjunction with modern and wild format, and allow, essentially like a reset of the entire gameplay, where people who have been playing and want to shift over to modern, like I've been for the last 4 months, will be able to finally do so, and then also be able to earn more based on the league that they're in. So we're in this it's a tough spot. The market is down. The cards markets is down. The crypto markets are down. I mean, SPS just hit a new all-time low today. So it's not an easy time. You got to have a certain level of conviction. And what I love about this and what I continue to say is the fact that like I am bored-ish of the game, right? Or at least I'm a little frustrated in terms of like, just grinding through. Like it's interesting because, at this point in time, a lot of it still is grind to earn. And in fact, the earnings just aren't there, right? And just being honest with you, the earnings just aren't there in this game the way that they used to be. Now that DEC is much, much closer to its peg, people aren't coming away earning dollars a day the way that they used to back in October and November of last year. So I'm really hopeful that these two big changes upcoming, and hopefully we get them within the next 2 months, are going to be the catalyst that reignite the player base for players like myself. Now, I'm still very much engaged with what is happening in Splinterlands, and I'm still very much invested into the game, and I've been very clear about the fact that I buy SPS every single day. I am converting pretty much everything into SPS because that is my long-term play, but that's for another video. From a gameplay perspective, though, part of it has, and maybe I shouldn't, and maybe this comes across too harsh, but part of it has gotten a little stale in that sense. So when they talk about new game types that are upcoming, I do get excited about that because I want to be able to interact with Splinterlands in many, many different ways. I still play at the beginning of the season. I grind and try to earn as much DEC, and then I'll play towards the end of the season to try and get as much or as high of a ranking as I can to get those end of season rewards. But it's this weird middle part of the season, like the 10 days in the middle of the season, that it's just like, okay, yeah, show up, do your daily quest, and that's it. And what I'm trying to say is for people who are new to the game or just getting started or are at a place where, that it makes sense, go for it. Like this is, you can earn as much as you want in this game, but you'll be trading your time for it, or you'll be trading your energy, or you're trading whatever. And it's still a good thing to do. So I'm not trying to bash the game in that sense. All I've said, and I've been clear about this the last couple of seasons, is that renting out my deck has been much more profitable for me. Now, I don't get to roll the dice by potentially getting a gold foil legendary or a gold foil card in my daily quests. And nor do I get to play in the tournaments at this level. I'm only playing in like the novice ones that I can get into. But in that way, it's allowing me to reinvest at a more consistent basis. So, I'm not telling people to go and rent your cards out. If everybody does that and nobody's actually renting the cards to play with, then this economy would crumble. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for the position that I'm in, this is what I'm doing and what I'm looking forward to as a catalyst to reignite my interest to play, right? Because what I love about how Matt and Aggie were approaching this is we want people to play and nonstop. Like we want them to have every incentive to keep on playing. And sure, you can say that incentive somewhat exists right now in the sense that, you continue to earn DEC no matter what. But a part of that is just, the value of DEC is down, the earning amount that you earn isn't as high. And once you do your daily quest, that's kind of it. And I've talked about different ways that you could like level up or have some kind of progression in the game. For me, leveling up is earning more and buying more, getting more SPS, buying more cards, leveling up my deck, things like that. So again, it's almost like a meta play on the game, because all I'm doing is trying to become not necessarily a better player by playing, but a better player by organizing my assets and managing my assets in a way that I can get more assets. But I've kind of been all over in this video. Going back to the main things, it's really going to be modern and wild format, and then the rewards economy. And I'm hoping that we can get these within the next 2 months. Like I said, the only timeline that we have is for modern and wild format. That's supposed to come out in by the end of April. So I'm hoping we do get that by the end of April. But I would rather them get it right than to rush something out. And I understand. Actually, I will say that I don't understand everything that goes into it. I'm not a technical person, so it's easy for me, and I'm sure many in the community, to play kind of like armchair quarterback and say, oh, why can't they just roll it out? But the truth of the fact is, like, at least for me, I don't understand how the back end of this works. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. So I give the team 100% benefit of the doubt that they are working as diligently as they can. So this is not a bash on the team for taking the time. This is I want them to get it right, and I'm going to be patient with them. But in the meantime, it's way more profitable for me to do X, Y, and Z than play the game. And that is just where the economy lies for me as a player right now, me as a player, as an investor. It's not going to be the same for everybody else. If you are just starting out in this game and you don't want to put money in, well, hey, good news is that you can play every single day, earn unlimited amounts, right? Like yes, it's going to be marginally, or there's going to be a marginal return on it over time as your ECR comes down, but you still get something, and you can still be buying all of these cards for so cheap. I still look at the rewards cards and they're like ridiculously cheap. So that's all I have for you in this video today. I just wanted to share, I guess, a little bit of Hopium upcoming, but be realistic with you about where things are at. So we may have another month of this, a month plus, if they don't get it out in April. But I do think that Modern will be a great catalyst for many players, both old and new, but specifically new ones. And when I say new, I'm not talking about players that aren't playing this yet. I'm talking about players who just joined in the last 6 months like me. That's what I'm saying, where it's just going to be like, okay, now we can finally feel like we're competitive in a sense, because we have a lot of these newer cards, Chaos Legion, Untamed, Dice, and are moving forward with that. And then the rewards economy, it'd be great if that comes out in the same time frame, but we haven't really heard much about that in the recent town halls. So I'm gonna assume that is nowhere near completion. So if it does happen in the next 6 weeks, awesome. If it doesn't, I'm hoping it happens in the next 2 months and we get it before June or July. Just because I'm hoping that we'll get some other major updates by June and July. So that's all I have for you guys. Let me know your thoughts. How are you guys doing? Is anybody else feeling burned out? Is anybody else not willing to play? I mean, it's interesting that, this video was spurred by many conversations that I have during my live streams where, some people sold all their cards and they they sold all their cards. They're still bullish on the game, but they sold all their cards because they expect the price to go down and they don't feel like playing. And, it's interesting to see the spectrum of activity within the game and the spectrum of perspective. So I would love to hear yours. That is all I have. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next video, and I will see you around the game.